بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
And in that discussion, we talked about the faculty of the intellect, al-quwwat aqaliyya. And we talked about the fact that it absolutely is possible that someone might have an excessive amount of the intellect. That might sound ajib to some of you. So how can somebody be excessively intellectual? And the same conversation you have in in two very separate books that are quite monumental in the world of the Hawza. One is Ayatullah Naraqi's Jamiat-us-Sadat, and one is of Imam Khomeini rahmatullah alayh's Chel Hadith. The entire book of Ayatullah Naraqi talks about this very premise, and the first hadith of Imam Khomeini's book talks about this idea of the struggle of the self. I want to begin here to look at the excessive amount of intellect and see how it's possible that in this day and age, and how education is being presented to us and how we sometimes take who the educated are, we can see there's a massive difference between the two. You see, in these two great books, both scholars mention the same point. And the point is that education and knowledge was always meant to be a means and not the goal. It was always meant to lead us towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a tool to get us to the proper maqsad and the proper destination and purpose. It was never meant to be the purpose. We live in an era of the democratization of knowledge. There's a democracy of knowledge right now going on. What that means is that access to knowledge is given to everybody. Young and old, you can Google any topic you want, read up on a few sites, and then begin to actually give your opinion on those topics. We live in a Wikipedia world. And there are some that actually believe that this is an advanced era we live in when it comes to the access of knowledge. And again, I'm not against the access of knowledge. However, the problem lies in the fact that we simply believe that the absorbing of facts is what we are asked to do when it comes to knowledge. And there are some that introduce and present knowledge to simply be the collection of facts, the understanding of concepts, the solving of equations. There are some people you know, definitely that I know, that mashallah, they are well read. Almost on every topic. They have something to say about every single topic. Sometimes they're bang on, and sometimes they're way off, but they have an opinion almost on every single topic. Topics that maybe they should have an opinion on, topics that they have no business having an opinion on. But one of the effects of this democracy of knowledge of today is the fact that yes, everybody now has access, which means everybody believes they're an expert in that field. And if you couple that with the boldness of today's society, people have no hesitation in sharing that expert opinion, either on social media or on the minbar or in other forums as well. And some of us refer to it as the enlightened era, an era of knowledge. We've come a long way, Sayyid, you would tell me. And both of these books now attempt to debunk this reality. That when you look at the approach of education inside of Islam, it has nothing to do with regurgitating facts. It has nothing to do with spitting out facts on every topic that you want to spit out facts on. Because there are some individuals who simply want to debate and argue and discuss, and that's great up to a certain point. But after a while, if all you have in your arsenal are facts, then that knowledge becomes a veil for you. It incites the ego inside of you and me. It gives birth to narcissistic behavior. This ujb we have inside of us sometimes comes from the very knowledge that we have obtained. And ironically, in this faculty of the intellect, both the deficiency of it and the excessive of it, and the excess of it, both of them result in a level of jahl and ignorance. But two different types of ignorance. Obviously, the one who is deficient in knowledge is ignorant. We call that jahl basit, simple ignorance. You ask me to do your taxes, I don't know how to do your taxes. You ask me to sit there and perform open heart surgery, I can't do it. Change your brakes, I don't know. That's my simple ignorance. But the excessive amount of knowledge in this day and age, where knowledge is seen as the simple absorbing of facts and spitting out of facts, is also a level of ignorance, but it's referred to as jahl murakkab, a compound ignorance, where now the person who's ignorant has no idea that they are, in fact, ignorant. So as Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam would describe, there are those who don't know, but they don't know that they don't know. And that comes from an excessive amount of absorption of facts and spitting out of facts. Because what's missing in this collection of facts is the heart. No, knowledge in Islam is not subject-based. It's intention-based. What I mean by that is that we assume that God and our path to God can only be carved around a certain type of knowledge or a certain subject in knowledge. So long as I'm in the hawza studying, let's say, Allah and fiqh and usul and tafsir and tariq, I can find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I go down these secular sciences, I can't find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's not the approach of Islam. Islam says that if your niyat is to find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in an operating theater. You can find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doing your taxes. You can find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a chemistry lab. And you can lose Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the hawza as well. It's intention based. It's never subject based. And that's the beauty of Islam. Education is to lead us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Either the subject will or the learned will. But that only happens when there is a level of purification attached to the obtaining of knowledge. And that's why you see certain words that are grouped together in the Quran. You see, for example, يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُعْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ, correct? Establishment of prayer, the giving of charity. There's reasons behind that outside of my discussion. آمَنُوا وَعَمَلُوا الصَّالِحِ. Right? Belief in Allah or belief in the deen attached with amal salih. And then you also see وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابِ. Purify and teach. When you understand the idea of tazkiyah and ta'lim, then you know that as you absorb the facts and you become learned and maybe even an expert in a field, it's the purification that avoids it from becoming a veil. And in fact, you'll find individuals who are the best of the best, as they become more learned, they become more humble in their knowledge. It reminds me of a very beautiful statement by Ibn Sina and many other philosophers. 40, 50, 60 years of drowning in the knowledge of Islam. At the end, all they say is that I know now that I know nothing about the deen. In fact, he goes one step further to talk about the ma'arifat of Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says, before I started the journey of learning about Ali, I knew nothing. And I've spent 4 decades in learning Ali, and I still have known nothing about Ali. That humbleness by a man like that, with that knowledge, is the epitome of the educational process of Islam.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد